welcome back. Another Saturday here on our Black Media Network, the Watch Dawgs at Noon. I'm Robert Bryant and happy to be with my guest today. I'm here in Charlotte, gentlemen, where the Clemson Tigers, go Clemson, go Tigers, will take on UNC UNC, it doesn't matter. Clemson's going to win for the ACC championship. And by the way, go Dogs, who will be beating the LSU Tigers in Atlanta. So there's only one Tiger that matters. Well, it's two Tigers, Savannah State and the Clemson Tigers. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you all doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Doing well. So today we are, as usual, we bring light to topics that are relevant, and we bring like the topics that are impacting our community, and that is the Black community, the Georgia community, and the national community. Let's kind of set the tone. I think today we really want to bring awareness to this theme that has been going on since the beginning of time almost, and that is our community has often been ignored, veil placed over things done to us, and we have to watch other communities have legislation, have benefits, or have things raised to the level. So our Black media will raise things to the level for our community. And so that's what we will do today. Two things that stick out, gentlemen, and I'll bring these up and others will probably come up through the conversation. One being, we saw Deion Sanders being considered by other programs. And so if you don't know, Deion Sanders was a great football player during his time, was hired on as Jackson State University's football coach. Jackson State is an HBCU. Has done tremendously well with his coaching ability. And when it came time for the Power Five, the larger white schools, to consider him to be a part of as their head coach, all of these things and rumors start popping up about his past. Well, LeBron James, and shout out to him, used his platform to say, you know what? It's interesting that you all want to do this when the owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, is in a picture demonstrating his level of racism, right, in the protests many years ago. But we don't want to talk about that. That's just one example. The other example is we saw where a young man in Savannah, a 15-year-old, a child, was shot in the leg while campaigning for Senator Warnock. Now, what does that mean? It means that why has there not been more of a conversation at different levels? Why has that not been more advocacy? Why hasn't it more been done? Because had this been done in other communities, I think we might have had a different reaction. So let's start there. Chris, what's your reaction to all of this?
Well, first and foremost, as far as regarding the Deion Sanders situation, the things that I've been personally seeing with Deion Sanders is such as the interviews that he's had on Earn Your Leisure and so forth like that. You've been in the videos and motivational videos, you've seen the particular way that he's been actually touching the people has been something a lot of other people haven't been doing. So I do want to just shed light on that because I acknowledge that, especially coming from my generation and the things that I've been through personally, those are the things that really push movements forward. This is the difference from just authority versus actual influence. So I wanted to just shed light on that one. As far as for the Warnock situation with the young man in Savannah, Georgia, that bothers me. And I say that actually bothers me for one, because I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now. And Warnock is doing a lot of different canvassing opportunities for a lot of people out here to get some money and get paid. So hearing that situation, and I don't know the context of it, and I'm hoping to hear about more of it so I can really get my full hypothesis on it. But just hearing that situation, it makes me fearful for a lot of my other peers that's out here doing that work. Like, is it a target going on with it? Is some type of media thing? Like, I'm not sure, because now we in these type of times where any type of narrative can be pushed and we don't know what's really going on. So first and foremost, it bothers me and it heightens my senses. But I really would like to know a bit more of what's going on underneath the scenes as far as with all this.
Ron, what would be your reaction to all of
this? So, my reaction to the Deion Sanders criticism piece is that, it's not at all surprising. It's not surprising that the reaction or response to him being considered is different from some others. It was interesting that you brought up his example because there was Hugh Freeze, the new head coach at Auburn University, had lots of issues with controversy and wound up resigning from a previous position at Ole Miss. And that was linked to, like, I want to say, factual misuse or abuse of Ole Miss property in terms of like taking private Ole Miss planes and handling personal business with it. Also, giving benefits to players that were not within regulations. And I believe there's also some sexual misconduct. I may be wrong on that piece, so I don't want to harp on that. But there were a lot of things that were swirling, and despite his resignation and having been brought up under investigation by the NCAA and then winding up resigning, you would think that there would have been a lot more issue with him taking the position at Auburn if we really want to be critical of personal character and influence or on the program that you're going to take over. However, he still managed to get this posting at a major university in a major conference. So that there would be, I guess the bottom line is kind of the die is always loaded. It's always just a little bit loaded, and whose issues wind up rising to the surface and being used as a reason for denial, is not always quite a level playing. Regarding the shoot, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
And then regarding the shooting in Savannah, I'm with Brother Chris here on that one. I really hesitate to actually weigh in and give a solid opinion because the first thing that we hear with that is, young black man shot while campaigning for a candidate who is also black and Democratic, right? And that raises a lot of bells and raises all of the red flags. And then, as I listen to that story a little bit more closely, we find it was a Latino that was involved or was responsible for the shooting. That person was immediately arrested and taken to jail for it. And we're not really sure whether it was racially motivated or not. So that piece, I hesitate. I think it's just unfortunate that, this young man is not going to be scarred for life. And every time he thinks about political action or activism, this incident is going to be tied to it. And I'm just hoping that, we didn't lose another young voice, another strong political activist voice.
Right. You said something, Deron, and Issa, I would like for you to speak to this idea. And it resonated with me is that whose issues get to rise to the table. Often I tell people, if you are not at the table, then you are on the menu. And so if you could, Issa, what's your reaction? I think that's a powerful statement to run me.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not missing my words about this at all. One, we look at the neighborhood that it occurred in. This neighborhood is one of the neighborhoods that's been hit hard by economic resegregation. And I put it out there. I said it to people because later on today, I'm going to be saying this to some folks. And on tomorrow, when we do the Yamacraw rededication, I'm one of the speakers. I'm going to be putting it out there. What we've seen a dearth in our leadership with regards to standing up for us when we had the opportunity to make our neighborhoods, again, the neighborhoods that should be habitable for us. You said who sits at the table? We are sitting at the tables and not doing anything. If you go back to 2004, there was a study that was done talking about the economic resegregation of our communities. And guess what? And then me and Victor Cooper, the late Victor Cooper, and I had this conversation. And this is during the time period when we have a supermajority on the city council. It talked about how East Broad, which is on that borders that 500 block of Hartford Street, is East Broad. It talked about Augusta Avenue. It talked about West Broad, that called MLK Jr. Boulevard. It talked about Broughton Street. It talked about Waters Avenue. Again, they talked about all that. We're sitting at the tables. And so again, I tell folks, and just like some people know, last month, October, I had a program on African American and Hispanic unity. One of the people who were there was Julius Hall, and Julius Hall brought up, he was like saying, wait a minute, he was like that Black folks are always supporting everybody, but we need everybody else to not understand that they got to step up to the plate with regards to us on these various issues. And what often happens, we do not. And instead, some of us, we become apologists for all the issues. Right now, I'm proud to see that there are Black women who are now saying to Caucasian feminists, saying to them, like, you don't call us out and tell us to come support you all, but you have not supported the cause of all of us. So who sits at the table are the people who need to be understanding. And you all have heard me say this on this platform before, that what needs to happen, Caucasians, Latinos, Asians need to sit back and let Black folks do the driving of this, because we understand. We have seen it. We know what happened when people are elected into office who do not have our best interests. And now you get surprised about what happened, because again, I put on another program, had it done in September, about It's My Body. So you all gonna act like you're surprised about that. You knew what was happening when you elected your brothers, your uncles, your fathers, your cousins, and you grandparents to a grandfather to office. They had told you what it was about. So again, what we saw happen on Hartridge, so put it on Hartridge Street, is an example of what's happening in our communities. Because again, that's Hartridge. But guess what? The same thing has been happening through our communities. But guess what? Nobody's saying anything. And one reason why I put it out there, because as I told, why I just joined it, let y'all know, Brother John Wick with a stick, he made some commentary on a post I put out there. And so he and I had a private conversation. And I told him, I put it out there because I'm like saying it's time for us to take action. And Shirley James said to me, when I spoke also in October, she said, November, when for the Deltas, she said, you are right. D9 need to be doing more, and D9 is not doing more. The Links are not doing what they need to do. Jack and Jill not doing what they need to do. So I'm just putting out there, who sits at the table? We're sitting at the table, my brother, but we sitting there silent because we still looking out for other people and not for the best interests of all of us. So when you look out for Black folks, guess what? Everybody rises.
That's important. I again, this is going to be a great conversation, and we're going to do a better job of not bashing people. We will hold you accountable, but we got to choose our words correctly. And so I even got to hold myself accountable for that. So we're going to do a better job with that spirit. Deron, what could D9 do better? What could NAACP do better? What could community organizations do better to say, you know what, this is our mission statement. Most of us on here are Brothers of Alpha. Love for all mankind. It sticks out, and you know why it sticks out. And I often have to, reflect on how do we do that well, and are we even doing that anymore? But how can these organizations say, you know what, we've got to do a much strategic job of being advocate and community organizers?
Wow. So that's such an interesting question. So I am one of those folks who have been, reading American history and, both the versions that were provided in school and the true histories, that are a little bit more comprehensive of all sides of those parties that were represented. And reading that and hearing what it is you've had to say about this, a couple of things come to mind. I mean, I have long stated that I'm part of and not that I do not advocate for segregation. I'll say that up front. But one of the things that was happening in the Black community when we were segregated is that all of the brain power was sitting right there in the community, and everyone was interacting with everyone, from the highest socioeconomic status to the lowest socioeconomic status. And so, I feel that during those eras, there was probably a little bit more kinship or understanding of one another's pain, and the sense of responsibility for what was going on in one's community was a little bit greater because we were all affected equally across the board. In modern times, everyone has dispersed, right? And so when we look at the folks that are less left in depressed socioeconomic situations, can they look to their left or right and see their brother who looks like them and is willing to lend a helping hand, or do we have to truly reach out and find, or would they have to reach out and find that person who personally understands their struggle? And I think that even the D9 and all of our elite organizations are kind of suffering from the same thing. I mean, once you are somewhat removed and you're out of touch, it's hard to understand the difficulties and to have that same, pull at the heartstrings for what's going on with your own people. And a part of that comfort is just that, we get disillusioned, we get quiet, we get shut down, and the charge to actually become socially active, politically active is a heck of a lot. It's a heck of a lot harder. So, I mean, if it's like you said, just revisiting the charter and understanding why you founded and understanding what the vision is, and recommitting, ourselves to that. Maybe that's what's missing. But I'm with you. Everybody needs to kind of get off of the chair and get off our behinds and actually get out there and do some work to make change. Incidentally, I'm sorry, Brother Issa, I see you trying to jump in, but
I was wait. I was just signaling to my brother Robert. Just say, when you finish, because you got a good point. Because I want to tack on something to that.
So I was incidentally, I just watched the documentary, The History of Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sorority Incorporated, about a week or so ago. And man, when you're sitting there looking at these women and everything they managed to accomplish, they were truly engaged in every area of human endeavor. And the fire was there, the passion was there. And the organization itself, and not to be remiss of anybody else in the Divine Nine, I just have a poignant example of them. They were there, and the passion was there, the fire was there. And that to me was remotivating. Because I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I know our charter, what our charges are, and so it was like, hey, this is a challenge. These ladies threw down the gauntlet. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, and we're going to go to you, Issa. One of the things, and I want to respond to that. What interests me, and I'm going to probably piss some people off, is and I'm speaking directly to the mind now because it angers me a little bit. We do these conventions and buy these bags and pat ourselves in the back and eat these lavish meals while there are people outside who are hungry that look like us. While there are people outside with poverty issues who can't take their kids to school because they don't have the adequate resources, who can't turn their lights on. And while that's not our fault, that's why we were created. If you go back to your history of your early foundings, they were started as social connection clubs, social studies clubs. They were founded for the betterment of our communities. And now we're bettering ourselves, feeding our stomachs, buying these wonderful and filling hotels that we don't even own. So who are we really serving now? I'll turn over to Issa, and Chris, I want to get your response on that as well.
Share with y'all. This is what happened this week on Thursday. I let into some people who are members of an organization, and the organization was founded on the principle, and they talk about Black pride, and I jumped on them because someone else came and told me, and I'm going to say this to my boy, to Benji, it was at Savannah State, it was on Thursday, and Word represented on Thursday night, brother, Word represented Thursday night. But what happened, this organization, what occurred was that a staff person said, they didn't vote. And I'm like, what? And they said, does Teray know that y'all didn't vote? And they're like, don't go there. No, don't tell him. So the person told me, he said, I told him, when I see you, I'm going to let you know. So I'm looking at the mic. So when I saw them, I'm like, wait a minute. What is this? What is up? They like all this wonderful stuff. I said, but I heard that y'all didn't even vote. They were like, man. I said, y'all just a bunch of shirt wearers. That's all. Y'all just wearing shirts. They're like, no, it's not. I said, your organization specifically talk about how y'all down with the blackness. Y'all down with that, right? Y'all have y'all fists up in the air once y'all do a public probate and all that. I said, but you don't even go and vote. I was like, see, that's problematic. I said, bunch of shirt wearers. Y'all just like everybody else. I said, y'all can go back and tell your chapter founders and all that, You can tell all of them what I just said, because I'm going to still remain adamant about this. And even now, I'm like, are you going to go home to vote right now? They were like, I got class on Tuesday. I got a final on Tuesday. I'm like, see, once again, shirt wearers, and that's part of the issue. One thing that Shirley James did say to me when I spoke for the Deltas, that she did say that we're going to have to do something. She's talking about D9. With regard to having an after school program, that we need to be specifically involved in that, because going with Brother Duran with regard to what he said, because one of the things I share with people like this, that, and I'll miss my words about it, that there are three things that affected Black communities across the entire United States. People are going to hear me talk about this later on today, because people hear me talk about on all my tours. It was public housing developments, interstate highway system, and integration. And when I share this, most people, they don't even apologize about it. They're going to say, yeah, that's right. And so that's what we're going to see. And so that goes to the same dilemma now we see with Tu Benji and some of us who know what happened with Savannah State with regards to when they try to disactivate other programs. It's still all a part of this right here. And my brother Robert, going back to the very first question you asked me, we at the table. We at the table. It's not other people just sitting at the table. It's us at the table. It's not like we're not at the table. We are there at the table. And guess what? And we ain't doing what we need to do. And we go against all this. Doesn't matter if you're part of D9 or what. If you were making 6 figures salary and you're not thinking about the children who are still coming back from the community you came from, then that's a problem. If you're a millionaire, it's a problem. If it's just you just doing all this wonderful stuff, you taking your trips and all that, but you're not concerned about those kids who are walking to the laundromat with their grandmama, and you're not concerned, guess what? It's going to come back to haunt you. The sins of the father come back and visit the children.
Wow. Chris, I want to respond to that last statement. That was powerful. My bad. You can call you want. What you want. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead,
that was extremely powerful, and I'm actually glad that was said. And it's that much intensity needs to be put on it because it's time for us to really be strategic. And I'm even speaking for my age group, whatever age group, even mine's lower, because it's a problem of wanting to be seen. It's a problem of just wanting to be seen. And that shirt wearing, I completely agree with it because that was something that I even experienced growing up and even seeing. So the intent behind it is not even there. The vision is not even there. The why. And I feel like those are the things that really needs to be hammered down on because that's something that we're all missing. They're identifying themselves too much with the shirt, but not even having a reason and a why being with it. So it's like, why is that? I know something that we all want is a sense of belonging. So that's even reason why we even want to jump into certain organizations, that family setting, all that type of things. But it all starts at the home. We got to be able to have the home together before we even think to jump into these type of places, because otherwise, what they say, a spoiled apple in one bunch spoil every other apple. So if that's the case, we got to really be making sure we got certain things set in place to make sure the intent and the vision is aligned and there. That's a tough thing to battle, and that's going to be taking a lot of time, and that's something that I even see. And I'm glad you even brought that up with the word situation, because that is a powerful organization, and it also dials back for us to even know our voice is matters. We gotta all be able to know that it doesn't take for us to get to a certain role or a certain position to feel like our voice matters, you know. And I think that's just that underlines as well, because even the voter situation, that, you know, it bothers me as well. But these are the times where it said we just got to be a bit more strategic. So that's why I'm doing the different things that I'm even doing in my role. I have an organization, a nonprofit organization, partner with my mom. My mom experienced a lot of different things as far as growing up, having to take care of kids, not having nobody there, hotel to hotel situation. She formed a nonprofit. She's been building for years around that. And I just been building the type of passion for people to be able to build just for being a part of Word and just the creative stuff. The program that I'm creating right now is called Creating Creative Creatives. That's basically letting everybody know that whoever gets in it, which is the age range, about 12 to 17, that you have a creative essence inside of you. Everybody has a superpower. So I'm trying to get people to realize who they are, because as soon as they realize who they are, that's when we realize, oh, we are at the table and we got food that we can bring. So, you know, I'm going to rest my case right there.
No, you good. We're going to go to a commercial break, folks. We're going to come back and we have a question from Sonia. So, Sonia, we see you. Thank you for watching. Share with 20 of your friends while this commercial is on. And Sonia asks, what do you all think about the boule? And everyone, I want you to answer that. But let me begin with this. And Chris, you started with talking about how your mom used her experience to energize and motivate herself to serve her community. We talked about your nonprofit. I'm going to talk. I've seen many people. Shantae McLaughlin starting nonprofits to help the mental health and homeless in Atlanta. We have Tiffany Taylor in Athens, Georgia, who started a nonprofit helping young black males because young black males are being killed and engaged in a lot of unnecessary activity. We have a number of people who are what I call creating their own table, which that is serving community. And we'll talk more about what other organizations are doing. But I want to ask that with this. All of these organizations that I think Dr. Trey talked about earlier, and all of the D9 and other organizations are good if they remember what their missions are and why they were created. So many times organizations forget why they were created, and or they build this idea of, oh, I'm going to be this powerful person, I'm going to have this position, and then they're just as worthless as water is to a dying plant. And so we got to do a better job of making sure that we understand what's our vision, what's our mission. You know, I can't tell you how many organizations I've been a part of, and there have been opportunities to feed the homeless. There have been opportunities to clothe the naked. There have been opportunities to help our youth, and we will find every excuse in the world not to do that. Stupid stuff like risk management. Well, it doesn't risk. It doesn't, so what if somebody gets hurt feeding somebody? We are created to serve our community. You know why? Because our country won't do it. So if we're not doing it, then who's going to do it? So we'll go to you, Chris, and then Deron, and then Dr. Ray. You know, what do you think about the Boule?
Yeah, for one, it's for a post. The main thing that we are dealing with right now is, for one, we have to take accountability for ourselves. But people are now doing these things to be able to take a picture and put it on social media now. That is the whole reason for people wanting to do it. The intentions behind it, I'm not aware of, but we're falling victim to this machine that's not us. We don't have control of this type thing. So as far as for the Boyle situation, I'm not too informed of what she's referring to, but I do want to just speak on what you have said as far as this, having these opportunities to be in these programs. Even a lot of nonprofit organizations. I know in the last call I spoke about how I went to that real estate event, and somebody was speaking about creating a nonprofit to profit. Like that was their whole intention behind it. So it's like we're missing a whole goal in this, and it's having to be refurnished and reestablished of just really why we even doing what we doing. So more of us, like we are doing, we got to be able to just continue to shed light on that and stepping into these places. I know, like my brother Salim would always say, as far as it's us making sure that we are showing and speaking for not only ourselves, but the people that we see around us, and not being afraid. And one of them type of things is also continue to have a grassroots approach. People are afraid to go back into them places that they just leveled up from.
Ooh.
You know, and they don't realize the reason why you was getting out is so you can be able to come back to help more than people. But it's like we get out and then we make friends with the people up there. It's like, yo, you missing the whole reason is why it's doing this. So that I want to spread more light on that one.
Okay. What, Deron?
So to address the question, you know, what do we think about the Boule? Wow. Again, a pretty loaded question. So, you know, I am a Black male physician, and you know, the Boule was created by Black male physicians as an opportunity to organize and to do some of the same things that the D9 organizations are doing. And after having joined a D9, continuing on the Boule, but it's at a professional level. So these are folks, you know, with means and hopefully an opportunity to impact the community a little bit deeper. So, you know, when I joined a D9 organization, you know, I joined because that was what I understood the vision to be, that we're here to impact social change, to be activists, etc. And you know, one of the qualms that I have is the notion of presence, right? So you know, if these organizations were the vanguard, they were at the front of all of the movements in the past, they had a presence, you saw it, it was visible, and that was the thing that motivated folks to join these organizations. So with the Boule, this is not a slam, but I don't see the presence, right? And they are a professional organization, but if I'm not seeing them and seeing what is to be desired about it, then I'm not going to understand. And if I'm not seeing them and seeing an impact, then again, the concern with them, same as with the D9, is, are we meeting the charter? Are they meeting the charter and doing what they were founded and charged to do? But I wanted to go back to Chris's question, and to Chris's statement. You were talking about organizing and the importance of organizing. It's a big deal. And there's a lot of folks that are finding nonprofit organizations to create social change, and they are in their bubble, right? But we got to think about major movements that have happened in this country. The movement, the abolitionist movement, hundreds of years before, we had an idea that turned into a movement that turned into actual legislative change. When we talk about Jim Crow era, we talk about Plessy versus Ferguson happening in 1896, and then it taking another 50 some odd years to the decision on Brown versus Board of Education. So 54-year movement there. We talk about Black men getting the right to vote in 1870, and then not until 1965, was there a Civil Rights Voting Protection Act signed into legislation. So when we talk about organizing, great. We want to create an organization, we wanted to do something. But if the entire vision stops at what can we do right now, we're going to miss the opportunity for real organization, especially if we don't understand it may take 50 to 100 years to create legislative change in whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. We think about the anti-lynching bill, right? First opportunity to sign an anti-lynching bill into law was 1918, and it took until 2022 for that legislation to actually pass. So 104 years. So are we going to organize, create a vision and a strategy that is long range up to potentially 104 years? Because that's what it's going to take to create the change that we're looking for, right? Also, to do that, we're creating one organization that manages our small bubble. They're not going to be able to do it alone. So everybody needs to be partnered in action, committed to the long range vision, committed to the long range plan. And we need to turn that vision over, pass the torch from generation to generation until we reach 104 years to see it actually come into being.
Okay. Correct.
I don't think about the boule. Just being frank, I don't think about them. Again, they're founded to be a council of leaders or the council of chiefs. I don't think about them like I don't think about a lot of other organizations. And then going with Brother Duran saying that, hey, my thing also is about, do I see you all? And sadly, I don't see a lot of people who are in positions of leadership, even with regards to the trauma that has happened in our communities. How many of us have been out there in these communities trying to help the trauma? Because again, has the boule, 100 Black Men, D9, Jack and Jill, churches and other institutions, and some of us been out there when the shootings occurred in Caton Homes, Frazier Homes. Have we been out there? And I got on people at one of the functions put on by Dear Young People, Reverend Jaquan Oliver. And I said, some of us brag about our high schools here. We brag about Jenkins. Jenkins talk about all this right here. But listen, we had some young people who go to Jenkins who experienced trauma because somebody in their community got killed.
Yeah.
But we more concerned about the bricks on the wall or on the pavement.
Yeah.
We are up in arms about that. So I'm like, but where are we not being up in arms about the Board of Education saying we need to have trauma? We need to have counselors going into the schools. We need to have counselors working with these children after school with regards to this trauma that's happening in their community. And they think it's normal. Then where are the churches with regards saying, hey, to our community and to the county and to the city, saying we need to have these people coming in too, because we got the elders there, we got the adults there, because people are going to school experiencing violence in their communities, and they got to function. People are going to work and they experience violence in their communities. So I'm going to say again, where are we? So that's why I said, I don't think about the boule and a lot of others, because I'm just like looking around like, yo, y'all ain't even there. And the reason why I say that often, some of y'all heard me say that, because I came from a neighborhood that was forgotten about in Savannah. But guess what? Going to everything y'all say, but the people in the neighborhood made sure that we as young people knew that we had positions and we had power within us. Going to what Chris said, it was our neighborhood who did that right there. And so the day when they hear someone talk about Dodge City, they trying to understand why we act like that. Y'all, because we came from a neighborhood that y'all forgot about, but we understood who we were and they made sure we manifested. And again, it goes right back to what Chris is saying. That's why we do what we do. And I'm gonna throw it out there like a Reverend Clarence Teddy Williams. No matter what you might feel about him, the reason why part of why he's doing it, because he came from that neighborhood and we understand what we must do. Sister Lynn, that's why we do that. So we came from a neighborhood and we understand we got to fight always and we got to reach back to those behind us. And one person I'm going to proudly say, Johnny Black, who's in Atlanta right now. He's a photographer at Savannah State. I was at Savannah State, now in Atlanta, doing great things. And that's a part of me also reaching back to him. Though we generations down the road.
Yeah. Trey, you said something earlier that just resonated with me, in that we have a supermajority in different spaces of leadership. And part of the theme for today's show is making sure that we do the best for our communities, and we've not done that. What kind of pops in my mind is the disproportionate levels of racism and ignorance and things that have impacted our community, which is why I think these nonprofits are more important. So y'all follow me on this. I'm going to give an example here. One of the things that really bothered me in the city of Savannah is that it's so difficult for a nonprofit to get funding to do things. And I really want to give a shout out to a program out of Resurrection Ministries of Christ. It's over there on Skidaway. Reverend Christopher Mike is over there. They're doing a wonderful job of feeding the homeless. Minister Ayetta Davis is doing a wonderful job. I really want you all to support that program and tell people about it because it needs to expand. But I work with that nonprofit and that ministry to get just basic funding to find, and they want to do so much. What they want to do is restore people through Christ or through whatever means, restore them back to a livable way of being. But to even get funding from a city that gave out federal thousands of dollars to people who do nothing for us. Nothing. We've got to do a better job. As a matter of fact, you all, it's no secret I'm running for city council. One of my number one expectations of what we're doing, especially on the city manager, is to find ways to make it easier for nonprofits. And so I guess what we've got to do a better job of, how can we build our own tables? And the other part is, once we build our own tables, Chris, work with people to pull these community organizations together, because very soon you're going to hear an announcement. I'm in conversations with another soon-to-be candidate. We are going to begin working on pulling people to the table to just listen and learn on how do we move forward as a collective. Because I might have my basketball over here, but I need you to bring your team so we can have a game. Chris, how do we do a better job of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, collaboration is key. Collaboration is key. And I feel like the best way for a fact is to make it simple and keep it simple. Just like I was speaking about on my mom's nonprofit organization, we just had a call a few days ago that had about 10 different organizations with 40 different families on it. And basically the person who had did a shout out to Project Xfinity, hosted by Miss Pauline. But basically, she had a couple of different resources of different organizations that did different things. One of them was people for teenagers who car hop and don't really have a place to stay in that midlife crisis. It's actually a nonprofit for that. Somebody else was this for hotel staying back to back, don't really have a foundational place. And basically, it was just a simple call. Like, she just put everybody on a Zoom call, formulated a good workspace for everybody. Had the call right there. 40 families came in, got access to every single one of them, every nonprofit organization that was on there connected, and it just moved on from there. And they said, when are you going to be doing another one? Next month. Same one got listed, and they sent it out to everybody else. So I'm basically just saying, for everybody, it simply just communicating with people, texting, sending a communication. We all still put energy into everything once we go out throughout the day. So we can take some of that energy that we focus on other things and place it to just communicating with people that you're doing. Find out who's doing things in your particular realm. Find out what you actually like to do. Go to Google and search up who's doing good in your area. Just simple steps like that. Find a way to be able to communicate with them. I'm pretty sure everybody has some type of community or private community that they're doing. And it's just sending a simple message can change a lot for you. So just sending that one message, pressing that one button can be that big change. And I think just started from that first step right there, it can get us a bit closer than we were before.
So, Deron, really quick, I know we've talked a lot about what organizations are not doing. And I always tell people and that's another part of this thing is there's not just a right and a wrong, there's a gray area. I like to live in a gray area. All of us have good and bad, but all of us are not just good or just bad. We live in a gray area. With that said, Deron, there are things that you're working on for your fraternity, well, our fraternity, Project Alpha, the Debutante Ball. Those are two examples of how we can use, in a small way, certain programs and resources to impact the community. If you could share a little bit about that.
Right. So I guess the first one that's coming up is going to be the Debutantes Ball. So Alpha Phi Alpha annually sponsors a Debutantes Ball, presenting the young women who have completed high school and initiated college education to society. Ball this year is going to be on December 17th. We're holding it at the Savannah Convention Center. And, the notion or the concept of a cotillion or debutante ball is an old one. And when it was initiated hundreds of years ago, it was all about, presenting these women who were now eligible to marry to society. And because of that, the concept seems a little bit antiquated. These days, we are not presenting 18, 19-year-old young women to society to alert anyone that it's time to now find these women, marry them off, right? In the Black community, the ball was more a celebration, has historically been more a celebration of these women's accomplishments, right? So we want to celebrate how well they've done in high school, celebrate that they have a vision for their own lives and that they've taken the power into their own hands to move that vision forward. And also the comprehensive program behind the Debutantes Ball also gives these women an opportunity to learn that, hey, you have an opportunity to give back. You have a mission to give back, a responsibility even to give back. And so the goal is that overall, these young women are participating in community fundraisers, community organization, that they are learning skills of social refinement, etc. And also, again, to Black women, these young girls need an opportunity to just be shown that they're beautiful, right? We have to be able to look our daughters in the eye, to show them, to tell them that they matter, to lift them up, and to put them on a stage that gives them an opportunity to shine, right? And so that's the goal of the Debutantes Ball. And even though it is an older idea, we're hoping that there are so many girls that are coming out that want to take advantage of that opportunity to learn those things, to get that indoctrination, and to have their moment in the sun at this age. Project Alpha is a program that Alpha puts on annually. Again, we're going to be teaching sexual health and awareness to young men ages 10 to 12. I'm sorry, I misstated that again. The goal is 12 to 18. I said all those other ages because I realize that we probably need to be teaching sexual health and awareness to folks as young as 8. This program is 12 to 18. So, we are partnered with the Georgia Coastal District of Health, their Division of Youth Programming and Development. We got professional instructors coming out from the medical community. And, we also got representation coming from the Savannah Mediation Center just to talk to these young men about, hey, this is what sex is. This is your responsibility regarding your sexual health, behavior, and awareness. Here's all the aspects that go into sex that you might not have even thought about. And then, let's say you do slip up, have that goof. Here's what it looks like to be engaged with the court system. Take all of this information back home and figure out, what you want to do. Do you want to go ahead and make that decision this early on? I don't say it's a mistake because children are never a mistake, but do you want to be given that level of responsibility at the age you currently are? Or are you going to be totally responsible, create a vision for yourself, and then live that vision instead? So that program is going to be happening on April 15th at Georgia Southern Armstrong campus. We initially planned to do that the same weekend that Hurricane Ian came through, and so we wound up having to retool and reschedule. But it is back on. We're hoping we get the buzz. We got a cap of 75 students, and we're hoping we fill all 75 seats.
Yeah. So, Trey, I want to turn the corner really quick, and let's kind of turn the corner back to our community, the Black community, not always being equally considered in different spaces. You know this is more than pretty many of us do, but when our ancestors and our elders and how they show up in helping us understand how to lift our own voices. If you could tell us a little bit more about that and how we can lean more into that as we stay encouraged.
You know, and it is essential. And the goal is to just share with you a proverb that and some of y'all have heard me discuss this before, this proverb. And the proverb goes that the hunter will always be the hero of the story until the lion has a historian. And so what has happened, we've been reading the narratives from the hunter for so long that the lions don't even understand their magnitude. And then another proverb I throw out to folks is, and this one right here is, a mosquito will not teach an elephant to be an elephant. A mosquito will teach an elephant to be a mosquito. And I see all these elephants walking around here trying to be mosquitoes. And so they have already ignored their glory, their majesty, their power. They ignore all of that. But then it's all right there with you. And again, this was so ironic, my brother, is that I had my folks go and research where they're from, no matter where they're from, or they're from Jessup, Georgia, from Baltimore, from Cali. I said, I need you all to go and research and look up the Black Wall Street areas and where you're from. There's the economic areas. And so some of them not necessarily understand it. And some of them, they now began to find out that their grandmother had was a seamstress. So she was making dresses and had a business with regard to that. And I told them, I said, but you know what happened? I said, you all didn't do as well as you could have, because when I had y'all do the family interview, when you did the family interview with the eldest member of your family, you didn't talk to them about the school that they went to, what was it like for them to grow up. You didn't talk to them. And so now, if you had taught them, you would have heard somebody from Savannah talk about the Star Theater or the Dunbar Theater and Dunbar Hotel. You heard about a Black-owned hotel here. And in fact, there were 2 Black-owned hotels right here. And so we need to get right back to that. And that was on West Broad Street, now called MLK Jr. Boulevard. And so I threw it out there poignantly, my brother, at time to say to people, say, hey, yo, check this out. How many Black-owned hotels do we have here in Savannah right now? And folks are like, none. So that's about reclaiming. And I told him, I said, I need you all now to go back, find out what was there in the community. Just like Chris, I was talking about on Sweet Auburn, talking about Auburn, but then also going to Jonesboro and going to McDonough also. People don't read about Blackville and McDonough. That again, here go Black wealth right there, Black economics right there. And I said that you see where we are right now. Now think about how we must get back to that. And that goes back to some of the things that you were saying, Brother Robert and Brother Chris and Brother Duran, saying that we need to support one another. We need to be invested in who we are. And that's what we need to make an investment into our communities. We must make a physical investment and economic investment, social investment, a spiritual investment into our communities. That's what we have to do. And you do it in whatever way that you can do that. If it's through an organization or just the fact that you go individually go and help somebody that is homeless or somebody that is hungry, somebody that's malnourished, somebody who is out there, who you just destitute, or even give them a kind word. We must make an investment. And so, my brother, that's what it's about. It's about us now understanding what we have had and what some people say that we've lost, but actuality is still there with us. And we just need to tap right back into it to bring it back full scale. And that's tied to that investment.
Chris, I'm going to let you respond in a minute. I love what you just said. And when you said invest in our community, let me tell you something about me, what I love to do. And it starts small. I like candles. There's a Black candle maker in Savannah. His name is Michael Owens Candles, Calvin. That's why I buy my candles. We're doing renovations on the house. My renovators are a Black contract. So what I'm saying is this: when I'm trying to do something, it's going to be the first place I go. I'm looking to say, who does this? I'm going to call Julia and say, who does this? My friend James, who does this? Because it's not that we don't, for far too long, we have not elevated our folk that do this work and do it quite well. We've always been told to go over here when it's right here by us. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, go ahead and respond, because I know you had a response to Teray, and then we're going to do final comments.
And that just doubles back down to just we are at the table. We are at the table. We don't, for one, we don't have to fall victim to the stereotypes that they place on us. For two, help looks in any type of way. If you don't got money, you can give love, and it's just it trickles down in each which way. Some people is able to write off donations. Some people is able to give their time by working at the establishment that's aligning with their vision. Some people is able to go into the establishment and just give good energy to the workers that's there so they can be able to give that back to the customers that's there. So it goes in every which way. And that really doubles back to, for one, making sure that we all continue to have gratitude, being thankful for what we already have. Because that gratitude that we have and being thankful for one, make us value what's already around us. So we'll be able to treat things with a better touch, a better perspective. And a lot of that stuff just really just doubles back down to just making sure that you're being a good person. So first and foremost, help can look in any which way. Like and these are just for the listeners and the people watching. Don't think that you got to have $1 million to be able to help somebody, to touch somebody. Anybody can do it. No matter where you working at, it don't matter. You don't got to be at the top job right now. A lot of these weights that we have on our shoulder was placed to make us feel inferior. And when we are not, we are who we are. And that's by really doing your research on who you really are. And once you really realize who you are, don't forget who you are. You realize who you are, you realize what you come from, that royalty. You look at everything completely different. You treat it with a different touch. So that's just, we just around here reminding people who they are so we continue to grow and elevate.
That's right. So we're going to close out with final comments. We'll start with you, Deron, Brother Deron.
Gentlemen, thanks for the conversation. It's been a great one. It's Brother Chris, as always, it's a pleasure. You have been dynamic since the first time that I've been on these sessions with you, and it's inspiring to hear about the work that you're doing. Thanks to Brother Teray for being someone who's always sticking up in the community and telling it like it is. I'm not a local voice, so to hear the perspectives of folks that have grown up in this area that see, what's going on, and they can impart that wisdom to me, I appreciate. And I mean, at the end of the day, thanks to everybody who's been watching the video online and giving their fantastic feedback to the conversation, to the group. I think that the message for today is, we gotta, again, organize. We gotta unify. There's so many groups out there that are doing things, and collaboration is key, like Brother Chris said a little bit earlier. So, we may feel like things are challenging, but it's nothing that we can't overcome if we're together. Fist is stronger than fingers.
All right, we'll go to you, Chris.
Really, I appreciate you all. Right back at you, vice versa. I'm grateful to just be able to have these conversations, that just validations, there's just the confirmations, the things, and just to know that, we are still here with one another. We all are continuing to do this stuff and making sure that we still showing up for the people. So I'm just grateful, I'm thankful, and, I wish the best for everybody.
All right, Brother Trey.
All right, just three short things. One of them, the first thing is this. I know why Brother Robert Bryant liked to be in the gray area, because it's tied to Winds of Force. What are their colors? Green and gray. That's why I'm just like sitting here like saying psychologically he's trying to help somebody right now. But I understand, but he's like, he all trying to throw stuff out there subtly. So the second thing is that at 3:00 on tomorrow is going to be a rededication of Yamacroft, of the square, because the square is the square that's being designated as a square. We had told people that since 2008, and it came to fruition. I just tell people you got to be diligent about it. That's what's got to happen. And the third thing is this. So we want people to come off to Yamacroft 3:00 tomorrow. And somebody's going to get mad with me. The brother John Wick with the stick, he said something to me that because, he's a person, and that with regard to his voice, and that, he can do his voice with social media, but just coming out there and put it out there, even on a larger platform, that, again, because he said people might look at me a certain way. And I want to say to all of you, it doesn't matter how people look at you a certain way. You have a voice that's important. That can be said at any time, at any point. You can change this world. You can change this world, and you just ain't got to do it via, say, social media, but you can go to those meetings and other places like that and come on any platform and give your thoughts, because your thoughts are important and are necessary.
I see Ivan said, is it 3 o'clock on Sunday?
Yes, 3 o'clock tomorrow, December 4th, tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Yes, sir.
December 4th is another good day. So this is for Jay Jones wanted me to make sure that he expressed his desire and excitement for the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated Founders Day. Jay Jones, we appreciate your love and support. But I thank you all for being on this week. Julius Hall, get well. We will be back next Saturday on Our Black Media with the Watch Dawgs. Y'all have a good weekend. Go Tigers, go Dogs, and we'll see you soon.
I like that.